Welcome back to the Game Day Everyday podcast alongside the executive director of the Tampa Bay Sports Commission, Lanness Robinson. I am Ryan Bass. So good to have you back here with us on what has been an awesome SEC Media Days three-part series that we're doing here on the Game Day Everyday podcast. This is episode 2. If you missed episode 1, make sure you go back and listen to it. All about the media's perspective. We had a chance to hear from SEC's leadership. We had a chance to hear from some of the coaches that were featured in SEC Media Days. A great episode. And we broke in Lanness Robinson here to his podcast debut on Game Day Everyday podcast. So make sure you listen to that. But here, Lanness, as we get into the second installment of our SEC Media Days three-part series, what I love about this and what I really love about this podcast is peeling back the curtain, right? We go behind the scenes in terms of what it takes to put on an event like this. And Lanness, I will tell you, we've talked a lot about the work that your team did. This is not a 1 week or a 2 week preparation. This is a year-long and even years-long preparation to prepare for events like this. Just take us a little bit behind the scenes of what it even takes for you and this group to be able to get to a point where we're hosting an event like the SEC Media Days in Tampa.
We're very fortunate, like we talked about in the previous podcast. I don't want to repeat a lot of that, but we've established trust with the SEC leadership, and they were looking for a different city to host. So this event had been hosted in Hoover, Alabama for years. I mean, a very long time. Then they moved it around. It went to Dallas, it went to Atlanta, it went to Nashville, and then Tampa was granted the opportunity. And that might not be the exact sequence that it followed, but it hasn't been in Hoover. This is the 4th year it hasn't been in Hoover, Alabama. So we were given opportunity to host, and so we're very gracious. We were very thankful to Commissioner Sankey and the rest of the leadership that wanted to give us that opportunity. And then, so for the last 15 months or so prior to, the discussions began. And then those last 6 months, it was really a strong push on what was this event going to look like. And so the event itself, because it's a closed event, it's a non-fan event, it was really important that we wanted to incorporate the people of Tampa into SEC Media Days. So we had a fan fest that we really pushed in our concept to the SEC, and they were very, very well open to that concept. And then they even added the idea of SEC Nation. They have some new talent on air, so breaking them in, giving them opportunity to shoot some content to kind of get used to being on air before the season gets going. We gave them a great platform for that. Our Tampa Bay community showed up in a big way, and SEC and ESPN, they were thrilled with that turnout for the live show. The Fan Fest that we had on Thunder Alley right outside of Benchmark International Arena was well attended. We had some activations, some games. We brought out the SEC championship trophy. So that event was that was kind of the kickstart for this SEC kickoff to the media days, right? And so then we had to plan all of the coordination of you have to get those coaches from the airport to the hotel where it was being held and back. So we worked with the city for escorts and the timing of flights landing and such, and then the media members being here but we wanted to really treat the media members, so we had a social event for them every night, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night. The event concluded Thursday at the end of the day. So we had basically media parties every night for them, which had never been done. Typically, there was one media party for them, and we did 3 of them. So we kind of, as we normally say, we're going to take it and try to raise the standard, make it an elevated experience, and that's all the feedback we got was that we were successful in raising the bar. As they go to Nashville next year, I hope Nashville realizes that there's some expectations there.
The
But
Music City has some big shoes to fill. Bigger than those shoes behind
bigger
you,
than that
Lanness,
one,
from what we
right?
did.
So yeah, it was a great opportunity for us to take an event that really didn't have one way of doing things and putting what I call the Tampa spin on it, and that Tampa spin seems to always have returns that we really enjoy.
Look, I used to talk all the time with our previous co-host. Is it like Lord Voldemort? Do we name him here? Are we still allowed to name him,
Listen,
or is
Rob,
it?
Rob is a great friend of mine and to the Sports Commission. So we definitely can name Rob Higgins because
All
without
right.
his leadership over all this time, I don't know that we're here right now.
I always loved to tease Rob, and our relationship
Yeah.
always was big brother, little brother, and I'm grateful for that and his friendship. But Rob Higgins and I used to always say on this podcast, the postcard of Tampa Bay, right? And what are you basically broadcasting out to the broader community outside of our borders? And I think you mentioned SEC Nation and Matt Berry being one of the new additions to that group on SEC Nation, and basically taking over his hosting role to showcase. And I thought that was a really cool, the SEC, Kickoff Fan Fest, right? To really be able to set the tone for what the week was going to be, which was all about the SEC here in our town, with our town being able to feature the biggest and most premier conference in college football and turn it not just into an event, but a complete frenzy, right? This was the event of the week. You had to be here, you had to watch, you had to tune in, and
Right.
you had to make sure that you were engaged with the event. And I thought that was a really good
Mhm.
opportunity to kick off. One of the things that I thought was really cool as well, and Lanness, for those that aren't familiar with our Beyond series, right, which I think is really important, it's a legacy program. It was started by the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. It's been hosted in conjunction with major events across our area. And what this initiative really is it focuses on empowering and gathering local women of influence in our community, right? That have participated in the Beyond Initiative since its inception and are a part of truly being able to showcase and grow these events at a scale that I think is to be admired, revered, and obviously now repeated across communities across the country. Take me into the Beyond series, why it's so important and critical, not just Lanness for other events, right? We've had Beyond series featured in women's Final Fours and many
Mhm.
events here in our town. But for this to be a part of what we were doing for the SEC Media Days, why was it important and how was that thread embedded throughout the event?
Yeah, so our Beyond series, the whole concept with the Beyond series is to really showcase women that help make things happen in the world of sports. That's so when we have a basketball event and it's beyond, but we always kind of tie it to the event. So when we have a women's Final Four, it's beyond the baseline. Baseline involved, I mean, in basketball. For hockey, it was beyond the blue line, something that's tied to hockey. And then each time we have women that are leaders in that particular field. So when we're talking about SEC Media Days, we had two very special guests that are in leadership. One is an associate commissioner for the SEC, Tiffany Daniels, and then one is a host on SEC Nation, Alyssa Lang. And like giving them the opportunity to talk about their stories, how they got to where they are, to give them the opportunity to talk about how women can be leaders in this sport, to inspire other women to do it. We don't want to lose sight of supporting everyone that's involved, and there's women in leadership with sports as well as other roles, because there are so many roles inside of sports where it's not about playing and coaching, that there are opportunities for women to do that. There's the whole business side of it. We for Stadium Series to kind of talk about that hockey game. One of the speakers was a woman that the company that did all of the tent construction and maintaining the ice. Like, think about that.
Amazing.
We would
Amazing.
not think that there's a woman involved. We wouldn't naturally maybe think that there's a woman involved in this world of ice hockey. So and the same thing with football, SEC football, right? And so this idea of having these women leaders inspire other women is the concept, and very proud of the work that goes into it and the information that's shared, and then just the networking that takes place at these events, and it just brings our events to an even higher level when we're done with them.
We love featuring the powerful and impactful women in sports in our community, especially Claire Lessinger, of course, who is our vice president of events here at the Tampa Bay Sports Commission, has been key in this Beyond initiative and has really been somebody
Absolutely.
that boots on the ground, but also her impact here in the Tampa Bay region cannot be understated. She is a superstar. But being able to not just hear from her, but Alyssa Lang, I thought was really, really critical throughout this event. So you and Joey Johnston had a chance to be on site at SEC Media Days,
Yes.
speaking with both Alyssa and Claire about their journeys and the Beyond series here in Tampa Bay. Take a listen to those interviews because I think it's really impactful here in what was a really successful Media Days here in Tampa.
Joey Johnston with Lanness Robinson, our executive director, our guest from ESPN, SEC Network, Alyssa Lang. Alyssa, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Good morning.
Been such a fun week in Tampa. I don't want to leave. I just want to stay and not work and go to the beach.
Right.
Everything else about Tampa.
So most of what you've done has been in this building.
Yes.
You've been inside a lot. Have you had any chance to go out and do Tampa things? And what's been your favorite part of the week other than the work?
Yeah, so I really haven't, but I will say I have a very interesting relationship with this city. So I met my now husband here. He lived here when we started dating, and I was in Charlotte. So I would fly down here about twice a month, and I got to do a lot of Tampa things then. So we always love coming back. My in-laws live in Bradenton, just about an hour south of here. So once I'm done with everything today, I'm actually staying through the weekend because I told my husband, if you don't take me to St. Pete, I'm going to be so upset.
And where else do you have to visit?
Clearwater, Anna Maria Island, all the beaches.
And I know a little
Hat-tricks
hat trick.
is another one. Burns is another one.
Okay, there
what
we
am
go.
I leaving out?
Armature Works, you told me.
That's right. I forgot about Can't believe I forgot about that one.
Right.
We had so many great first, second, third dates around Tampa area. Actually, I'm going to ramble now, but one of the most Tampa things I think I've done was go to a Lightning game and meet my now in-laws for the first time.
Oh, wow.
But I love this city. I really do.
Yeah. Well, on Monday, obviously, I got a chance to meet you. We had the Beyond the Banners program. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, it was so great. Anytime we can get so many amazing women from all walks of the sports life in one room together to have a conversation, it's just so valuable. And then obviously our male allies as well, like you guys, to be in there is just so much fun. Tiffany Daniels, Associate Commissioner of the SEC, is a freaking rock star. I mean, if I needed any kind of advice on anything, business, sports, life, like I would ask Tiffany. She was able to shed so much light and great context on why decisions are made and how the sausage is made kind of in the Birmingham offices of the SEC. And it was just a really cool opportunity to share some experiences, meet some wonderful people. I've already emailed back and forth with some of the women who were in attendance on Monday. So anytime I get to expand my network of awesome women, especially in this area, it was so much fun.
Well, I'm sure a lot of them, they look at your career and your trajectory and say congratulations to you. But then it's like, what were some of your life influences that got you to this point?
Oh my gosh, so many. I mean, even from growing up and turning on the TV and seeing just the few women who were on TV talking about football when I was a kid. I'll never forget watching Susie Colbert for the first time, interviewing quarterbacks or quarterbacking studio shows as a studio host. She was one of the first that I remember watching and going, oh my gosh, I could totally do that, or I want to be like that when I grow up. And then when I got older and, you know, set my sights on the SEC, Laura Rutledge and Maria Taylor were two trailblazers within ESPN and within the SEC and the SEC network. They've both been so helpful and kind and instrumental in giving me advice. And then I would say, you know, in my very first job, I think we all lay a foundation that could set you up maybe for success, or depending on how your outlook of the business is, really depends on who you work with. And I had a wonderful first sports director by the name of Reggie Anderson, who hired me right out of college when I was in Columbia, South Carolina, and could not have been more supportive to me as a young female trying to make it in the world of sports. He didn't have to be, as a 20-year veteran of the business and someone who didn't know what in the world was going on, but he was, and he really gave me such a great outlook on the potential that I had in the business. So those are just a few of the very many.
Well, that's great. Shout out.
Alyssa, one of the things you said at the Beyond the Banners was, and this is sort of relatable to a lot of people who work in sports, talking about the young Alyssa when you followed sports, how much passion you had for the games and how you never want to lose that. You're a journalist, you're a broadcaster, but above all, you're a fan and a follower of this sport. Is that what drives you to do this every day, and what keeps you going and what makes you enthusiastic about this job?
It is. I remember growing up, and I looked forward to Saturdays more than anything. Both my parents went to Virginia Tech, And I grew up in a really cool era of Hokie football. I mean, I wore number 7 because I wanted to run around the soccer field like Michael Vick, right? I mean, our dog's name was Beamer. We were rabid Hokie fans.
I would say so.
And I just remember, from being 6 years old to being 16 years old and going into that stadium and feeling like you were part of something and feeling like you were part of this huge family of people that maybe you never met before, but were automatically going to be your friends, and pulling for this group of talented athletes that also wanted to make that entire stadium of 66,000 people have the best night ever. And there's just something magical about that feeling. So as I've gone through my career as a broadcaster, knowing that there's so many people who also go to a stadium on Saturday or turn on the TV on Saturday and outside of college football, looking for that same feeling of togetherness or passion, and I get to be part of the vehicle that brings them that happiness that I know I grew up experiencing, is something I really do try to channel into what I do every single day, while trying to entertain and inform and all the above. But I think sports and the beauty of it is being part of something, and I'll do my best to never forget that part of it.
Well, you've done a great job up to this point, and we're sure that will continue. Best of luck as you continue your career, and you're doing a great job here this week. Enjoy Tampa the rest of your time.
Oh, I will.
We appreciate the time today. Don't want to keep you too long, but we appreciate you stopping by and spending some time with us.
Thank y'all for having me. I so appreciate it.
We're joined by the Senior Vice President of Events for the Sports Commission, Claire Lessinger. Claire, thank you for being here. I know you've been busy all week with all kinds of bells and whistles, special events. It began with Beyond the Banners that really kicked off this whole week on Monday morning.
It kicked off on Sunday with the Fan Fest.
You're right, the Fan Fest. How could I forget the Fan Fest?
Absolutely.
Anyway, two big special events that began before the first coach or player spoke. So speak about those two events, how they helped kick off the week and set the tone.
Yeah, sure. No, first, thanks for having me. Fun to be here. Really important, to us, a priority of the sports commissions in our community and our partners to create ancillary events around these major events that grant access and opportunities to our public to enjoy them. And so the SEC has been tremendous partners, as well as ESPN, to curate a fan fest that did kick off the week, that could take place right outside Benchmark International Plaza, allow us to really market and promote to all of the alumni associations here locally, and any football fan and any family that wanted to come out and be a part of a really fun late afternoon that did include a live broadcast by SEC Nation. So that really did set the tone for the week. And what our team and our events team has done throughout the week is create private events for the media and all of the attendees that are here this week to enjoy. So as they wrap up their busy days, we can come roll out some red carpet and create some hospitality and experience for them to enjoy our destination.
So obviously, with your role as the Senior VP for events, you've planned a lot of events here this week, but all the time you're planning events. Sam Acho came on with us earlier, and he talked about community impact. And I know that's something really near and dear to your heart. When we're putting these events together, kind of talk me through your thought process with community impact.
Yeah, I think the headlines for all of these major events usually lead with economic impact, right? How these major events drive ROI and economic impact in our community, but they really also create these legacy and community impact ripple effects as well. And I think it's, our responsibility as a community partner to find unique ways to do that, to tether these events and connect these events to our community, to align with any philanthropic mission that might already exist, finding mentorship opportunities for our young students and young professionals that have aspirations to work in this space. So I think we're just always creatively trying to see what the event is and then what makes sense in our community to tie and tether to it, to bring the community in and then create these legacy programs that live on.
Claire, this SEC Media Days football kickoff event is just a continuation of the Sports Commission and the City of Tampa's partnership with the SEC, which dates back to basketball. And we have gymnastics coming up for a 2-year run. We have the Florida-Georgia game coming to Raymond James Stadium in 2027. And who knows what after that down the line. Speak to what this partnership could mean for all of us to be so closely aligned with the SEC.
Yeah, I think it's one really exciting. And as you mentioned, we've had an opportunity to host some SEC championships previously, but this event is really kicking off a pretty historic run for our community and a friendship and a partnership we hope to lean in and maximize for years to come. Having the SEC Gymnastics Championship come here for a first time in a 2-year run, I think speaks volumes to the excitement the SEC has to be here, and also is a testament to the investment that our community is putting behind it. And we sure hope that's going to be a long-standing relationship and opportunity for us, and also another opportunity to bring a women's championship here. We've had so much success with the women's Final Four, women's volleyball, and to now add gymnastics to that resume. But in a hotbed of where there's so many SEC alums, and you've got Florida right up the road, who is traditionally top 10 in that sport. So we're pretty confident and excited about really maximizing that opportunity. But that doesn't stop there, right? You mentioned we got Florida, Georgia, one of the greatest, college football rivalry games coming to town in a unique situation while they're on hiatus from Jacksonville. And clearly we know that'll be a sellout, and we will have no shortage of fandom going on here. But another example of an event that we will make sure we create so many great and exciting events around for the community, legacy programming, and opportunities for the fan base to experience it in a unique way here in Tampa. And then we also, what was the other one we have on the horizon? Oh, we have Florida tipping off in basketball. I was like, I know we have some one-off neutral games with SEC schools, which is also exciting. I think that relationship with Florida just being up the street, and in this new NIL era where they're looking to find ways to take their teams on the road to neutral sites. They want to be in markets where their fan base is big and vibrant. And so I think Tampa's going to, again, be a nice home for them for those types of games.
Well, every time we have a major event, particularly, we kind of pride ourselves in raising the bar, setting the standard. Where's all that creativity come from?
Well, I think we have a creative team. It starts with the team. There's no shortage of ideas.
I knew you would give credit to those folks.
There's no shortages of ideas being tossed around all the time. But I think, we're listening and learning from all of our colleagues and partners in the space. We are so fortunate to be in a market where the Bucks, the Rays, the Lightning, and they do fan experience at a really high level. And we get to travel a lot to other markets and destinations and watch them put these events on. So I think it's a matter of always listening, learning, and understanding what our assets are, and creatively finding ways to connect them to raise that bar every single time. We don't do what we do on an island. It takes this whole community and continuing to keep everyone engaged, involved, and really having a voice at the table helps us raise that bar every time.
We heard from Commissioner Greg Sankey earlier about the great time he has had. He looks over and sees the waterfront. They've never had that at the media days. He went to Busch Gardens, for crying out loud. He got to eat at his beloved Columbia restaurant. And then all the fans and all the officials seem to be having a great time. What are your main takeaways from the hospitality and how that's been received?
I mean, I think we're pretty biased that we do it best. And when I say we, I mean our community. We have so many great assets, from, you mentioned it, our attraction partners to our restaurant partners to just sitting right here, waterfront. It doesn't get much better. We have one of the best airports. Everything's convenient, accessible, walkable. The weather has even been fantastic and cooperated, in a month that could have been questionable. So the event gods, always tend to look out for us. I think everyone's walking away from Tampa, if they didn't already know it, saying really great things about it. And I think it starts with the people, and it starts with the hospitality.
Well, I think it's important for you to hear, because I know you oversee all the events for us. Someone told me last night they've been here 22 years, and this is the most special that the media has ever been made to feel, that it's always generally about the players and the coaches, that they feel like they are the part of the importance. So thank you for all you've done.
Oh, that's awesome. That's fantastic. And ultimately that's our goal, right? Is to make sure everyone that is in Tampa right now feels that way. So that's fantastic.
On Monday morning here at the Media Days, SEC Football Media Days, it began with Beyond the Banners on Monday morning, which featured Tiffany Daniels, Associate Commissioner of the SEC, and Alyssa Lang, commentator for SEC Network. They both shared their journeys and their paths to their positions, and they were in a room full of very influential, very charismatic women from all over the area. What were your takeaways from how that event went?
Well, I thought it was a huge success, but again, it really does. It starts with the panelists. It starts with the people that agree to come and tell their story and share their story, and knowing what a busy week both of them had, that they said yes without a second thought and didn't really even know or understand what the event was. It was pretty cool. Lanness and I were talking to Tiffany Daniels.
Yep.
She said, now what is this Beyond
Right.
series? So I think it's a testament sometimes even to women that just say yes. Like, I'll be there, a room full of women.
Here to
I'd love
support.
share. Yeah, I'd love to share my journey.
Mm-hmm.
And then to have Java Ingram locally moderate the panel, who's dynamo and had a tremendous career herself. But it really is about the room, and the intent of our Beyond series is to unite, women that have had an incredible professional journey. And oftentimes in that room, we also have the next generation, but to really highlight the women tethered to these major events that have been so impactful, whether it's with the event or with the conference or with the network. And that's what we were able to do is, create this impactful event that was for our community of women, really women in sports, women in business, but influential leaders, as you mentioned. I like to say women who win. And it was inspiring. It was educational, but it creates a network. And some of my favorite aftermath stories of that event have been from board members, have been from community leaders, have been from our mayor, not just thanking us for hosting that event, but they have connected with either one of those speakers that were there. Two said it was the best ever. That's always the goal, right? I mean, we just hosted one with Stadium Series. It was pretty cool. Like
Right.
to have one, right on the heels of it that attendees are saying that was the best ever. And a lot of it has to do with great content. So just so appreciative of Alyssa and Tiffany for donating, or for showing up and giving their time and creating a dynamic conversation that started off a Monday. I said, I figured it out. I got 8 a.m. breakfast, and I can get
Perfect.
all the key leaders in town
Yep.
to the table.
Yep. One thing I'm sorry, Lance. One thing I loved was how Tiffany and Alyssa, the sort of divergent paths, in the same conference, but they're doing really different things, but they both harped on the importance of relationships and what they do. And Alyssa even talked about, sometimes, in the urgency of getting an answer to a question, you forget to just get to know a person, and you don't have to get it all right then. It can come back to you later. And in navigating that, which we're all trying to do these days, I think everybody in that room could relate to it. They might not work in sports, but it was a great message for everybody.
I totally agree. Very, very relatable. And they just had a way of making you feel like you were in their living room with them, right? So, again, it was a great environment. It was a great conversation. And I think the whole room was really inspired and enjoyed it.
Well, before we let you go, Beyond is not a new thing. This is something that has been in place going all the way back to the Women's Final Four. Kind of talk us through that history of how Beyond came about and where all it's gone.
Yeah, sure. So Beyond the Baseline was the first iteration of our Beyond series. It started alongside the Women's Final Four, and I can't take credit for any part of the 2008 luncheon that took place, but it really was the seed that got planted. And I think, the team hosted a small luncheon of 12 women to support and celebrate the Women's Final Four in 2008. What we did is we took that brand in our next hosting effort in 2015, kind of pitched it back to the NCAA, talked a little bit about, what the intent of that luncheon was. They loved it so much, they really wanted to build on that and kind of challenged us to create a series. So with that, we took that opportunity. I just remember having coffee like every morning with someone, and it would be like, no, you need to go meet her. You need to go meet her. You need to go meet this one. You need to go meet this one. And this is what we did to kind of create the base of our Beyond the Baseline, loyals or OGs, maybe I like to call them. But we created 4 events that led up to the Women's Final Four to create a community of women supporting women around the premier women's championship.
Yep.
And it was like, you don't have to love basketball. You don't have to be a fan. This is bigger than that. This is a movement. So the movement created momentum.
Right.
And as we rolled out of that Women's Final Four, the NCAA decided to trademark it and take it with them.
Kind of stole it from us.
Yes, and build it into their tourney town, which is the greatest compliment of all times. Right. But it was a commitment of ours, too, to maintain and create a series that we tried to do this alongside every major event, which we have done. So whether it's CFP, Frozen Four, Stadium Series, we have created a Beyond programming, very similar in nature,
Beyond
with the same
something
intent.
related.
Correct. And it's been really fun to be a part of. But kudos and real credit to our community for, one, supporting it, loving it, wanting to know when the next one is, and to our partners that always say yes.
Some truly powerful stories there, Lanness, and love kind of getting some insight from both Alyssa and Claire, and so grateful to them for their time with you and Joey at the SEC Media Days. And I'll tell you what, we talk about Beyond being one community initiative, Lanness, but there are many others that are woven throughout SEC Media Days where it's not just about the event, it's about how those ripple effects impact our community as well.
Yeah, so we were actually fortunate enough to get Sam Acho, another ESPN talent, with us, to sit down with us to talk about his kind of experiences as a college football player, as a pro football player who ended his career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, by the way. He was able to sit down and talk with us, and he talked about the community impact and what the Tampa Bay Sports Commission does when it comes to community impact, but also some of the players from SEC football, how they take the concept of community impact and make it their own. Sam Acho is a former Warfel Award winner, which has a community impact component to be a national winner. Danny Warfel, obviously former Gator quarterback, so a lot of SEC tie there. Sam Acho played at Texas, SEC tie, not that it was SEC back then, but just this idea that community impact is so important, not just to the Tampa Bay Sports Commission, but also to players and to the SEC, and it just speaks to this grassroots effort of serving our community while we're doing good work.
From ESPN, Sam Acho, the former Texas Longhorn NFL player. Sam, thank you for joining us.
No, thank y'all for having me. I'm glad to be here.
No, thanks for joining.
Yeah. Hey, Sam, what do you think of this event, this SEC Media Days? I know when you played at Texas wasn't yet in the SEC, but you look around and see all the media, all the excitement, all the buzz. What do you make of this whole thing that's here in Tampa this week?
It's exciting. I remember, my last year in the NFL was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Right. So I remember living in Tampa. I lived at a hotel for 8 weeks, but loving Tampa. And then when I played in college, Texas was in the Big 12. So I remember being a college athlete going to Big 12 Media Day and now covering ESPN, getting a chance to be at SEC Media Day, to see the coaches, to see the media, but also to see the players. I think people forget how cool of an opportunity it is for the players. One of the guys, Colin Simmons, is going to be here today, and he's part of the All-State AFCA Good Works team, and his younger brother, Clay. So Colin Simmons is one of the best edge rushers in the country, right? 12 sacks last year, led the SEC. But people forget that these people as humans, they actually have stuff that happens off the field that matters as well. So his younger brother, Clayton, has autism. And so what Colin said is, you know what, I'm going to start a 501c3 called Clay's Color Crew that'll help spread awareness for autism, because he felt like there weren't enough resources. Think about guys like Lawson Lucky, tight end at Georgia, who, once again, Georgia, SEC, all these things. He's one of the best tight ends in the country. Well, his younger brother, Colin, was born with a rare genetic disease called FOXG1 syndrome, where his brain wasn't fully developed and, blind and deaf and all these things. And so he's using his NIL, his platform, to go and spread awareness for that. And so it's awesome to be able to be back at SEC Media Day, but also to realize that, man, these players are making a huge impact in their communities and elsewhere. Edward Spillman, Tennessee linebacker, all SEC freshman team, was born in Sierra Leone, lived in an orphanage for 4 years, and was adopted, came to America, and now he's like an all-star, linebacker for Tennessee. Yet he started a nonprofit as well with his family and goes back and helps other orphans in Sierra Leone. And so there are players here who are doing phenomenal work. I don't think it gets enough coverage.
Yeah, those stories are often not told enough. We at the Tampa Bay Sports Commission, we always want to have community impact situations tied to all of our events, our major events, our youth and amateur events that we do throughout the year. So it's great to hear those stories. And you're right. These players are more than just players, right? They're human beings. They're student athletes. So a lot of them achieving in the classroom, achieving on the field, but also achieving achieving just in life in general. So thanks for bringing all that up.
No, and I love it. I mean, because to your point, it's like, Tampa Bay Sports Commission, y'all are realizing that community impact matters.
Oh, absolutely.
And very few people focus on that. And it seems like it's I remember I was at an event, I forget what event it was, but I met somebody who was a part of y'all's commission. And it was like, man, look, we want to do work in the community. We want to help young people. And it's like, and that's even what the All-State AFC Good Works team does, the All-State Warfel Trophy. It's the only award that recognizes not you just on the field,
right,
or not you just in the classroom, but also in the community. It's athletics, it's academics, and it's in the community. And so there's something special that happens when you're actually recognizing a human for who they are more than just what they do.
Well, the fact that you even brought all of those, obviously that's something important to you. Yeah. You're a former Warfel Award recipient.
Yeah, former All-State Warfel
Award. So it's always been something important to you.
Yeah, and it stayed important to me, right? It was won the All-State Warfel Trophy in 2010, was member of All-State AFC Good Works team in 2010 as well, but stayed connected. Even past my 9-year NFL career, past my time in Tampa, I've still my family and I, we go back to Nigeria. We do medical mission work over there. I was there like a month ago.
Okay.
And like, so the work that these players are doing, it goes beyond. Back when I was at SEC or Big 12 Media Day, I was getting recognized for some of the work I did in the community. We do hospital visits. We would, visit kids at different places. I would go to Nigeria. And I was 18 or whatever, 20, 21, 22 years old. Well, fast forward 15, 16 years later, I'm still getting a chance to do that work and also partner with All-State, the All-State AFC Good Works team and the All-State Warfel Trophy. And they're still, like Danny Warfel was here yesterday, sharing, his heart. The All-State Warfel Trophy team is here. The All-State AFC Good Works team is here. So it's just one of those things that lasts beyond when you can pick up a football or throw and tackle.
All right. Hey, Sam, obviously there's a lot of buzz about your alma mater here, the Texas Longhorns. 3 years into the SEC, what have they brought to the SEC? What has the SEC brought to Texas since they've been in this league?
Recruiting. I think the biggest thing the SEC has brought to Texas has been recruiting. I mean, that's one thing that people would say when A&M was in the SEC and Texas was in the Big 12. If you're coaching or recruiting, you're telling the coach, hey, do you want to go play against the best in the world or play against, at least that's what recruiters say, it's a different conference. And all of a sudden now Texas is in the SEC, and people often say the SEC is the best, or not, SEC, Big Ten, you name it, one of the best conferences. And so all of a sudden the best athletes in the world don't have a reason not to go, or at least the best athletes in Texas don't have a reason not to stay and play at Texas. So now you're getting that talent in the SEC as well. So recruiting has been huge.
Well, the Sports Commission, we are responsible for and partnering with the SEC for this event. You're a part of the media.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you would say are the highlights of what we've done here this week?
Yeah, so the highlight for me is just like, it's awesome to see Lane Kiffin and hear him talk, but the highlights are getting a chance to talk about the human. Getting a chance to, like, a lot of these players who we've named, like they are here at SEC Media Day. Marcus Ratcliffe, defensive player from A&M, raises money to help veterans go back to Normandy. Right. Like, these are some of the things that I love that the SEC Media Day is doing this, that Tampa Bay Sports Commission is actually taking the time. I'm even to say, hey, let's sit down and have this conversation to highlight what the players are doing off of the field as well. You said it earlier with the stuff that matters to you. It's not just how many tackles and sacks and touchdowns you score. It's who are you becoming.
Hey, Sam, you bringing the Tampa thing back home. You mentioned, you spent some time with the Bucks here.
Yeah.
Fun fact, back in the day, you were with the Arizona Cardinals. Bruce Arians.
Yes.
Todd Bowles.
Yes.
Who ended up in Tampa. Bruce won a Super Bowl. Todd is still the head coach. What about Todd Bowles? What was your dealings with Todd, and what do you think about the job he's doing here in Tampa?
No, I love Coach Bowles. So my last 2 years in Arizona, I played with BA and Coach Bowles, and then my last year in Tampa, I played with BA and Coach Bowles, Bruce Arians and Coach Bowles, and the way that Todd Bowles is able to communicate information, it's second to none. He's a phenomenal teacher, and that's what stands out to me. But then secondly, so like and he communicates it in the classroom, like where we're studying, but also on the field. He'll be on the field yelling out a play before it happens.
Oh, wow.
And so I remember being on the sideline next to him. I wasn't playing him a lot, but then when I did, he'd be telling me, hey, man, here comes the jet sweep, or here comes the, the crossing route. And it almost, without a doubt, always happens. So that intelligence, but also the kind of human he is. Like Coach Bowles cares about family, cares about community, cares about people. And so for me, it's the football IQ, but also the human element as well.
Well, because you have some ties to Tampa, what were some of your favorite parts of Tampa? We'll let you end with that.
So, I mean, I played my last 8 weeks in NFL in Tampa. So I got here like right around Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And so I stayed at the AC Hotel.
You were AC Hotel facility and back.
Literally, I was at the hotel and the facility. And it was one of those things where people say, man, first one in, last one out. So I was like, let me see if I could do that. So I'd get up, early and try to be the first one in the building.
Right.
And I'd see Tom Moore, who's a phenomenal coach.
Yeah.
He'd be up there at 4 a.m.
Right.
3-something in the morning. Todd Bowles was up there early in the morning. And so it was their facility. I went to the mall every now and again.
Okay.
But really just being there with my teammates and with family as well. That was some of the best things for me.
Lanness, great to hear from Sam, and I love the passion he speaks with, right? I mean, you can tell with every word, with every sentence, how passionate he is, and it was so great to hear his conversation with you and Joey. Lanness, this was only part 2 of our 3-part series here on SEC Media Days, and I think a lot of people, especially those tuning in here, and a lot of the listeners here to the Game Day Everyday podcast, are going to like our next episode because it is all about the 813. Tampa takes center stage, where we really get to dive into what makes our city so perfect to be the premier space to host events like this. And we're going to hear from some Tampanians themselves here as well on this next episode coming up, Lanness.
Yeah, so we're fortunate to have Ken Hagan join us on the next episode as well as Brett McMurphy. Ken Hagan is obviously county commissioner here in Hillsborough County, and Brett McMurphy, he's a national writer that has a lot of contacts and network around the country in college football. So stay tuned.